So I was gonna make a video of how to press the spring back into the shock with extra washers put inside, but I started to press it in there with a shop press, and I realized it was getting a bit dangerous, so I thought I would just stop recording, get the job done safely with a hand from a mate at work, and we have the end result. That's a spring with the extra washers in it, ready to go. I'm gonna make a video on how to install that back into your CRF250L. So these are the tools you are gonna need. These are the bolts that came out of the shock, and that's out of the arm underneath the bike. You're gonna need a 5mm Allen key and a 6mm Allen key to take the seat off, and that'll take the fender off. These are the bolts for the seat that you need to take off to get that fender off. A 14mm, a 17mm, and 2 sockets to do all the shock back up, as you'll see as I'm doing. Here's your shock. Washers have been added, and I've wound the preload all the way down and locked that off. You also need a torque wrench. This is one I've just borrowed off a friend of mine. Okay, I'm gonna start putting it back together. I also suggest you to have some rags nearby, and I'm going to use nickel anti-seize lubricant. Mollytech, it's in Australia. It's a nickel anti-seize. Put that on my bolts before I put things back on my motorcycle. You need to remove this fender to gain access to one of the bolts up inside here to install the shock. I'll show you a bit later. Just gonna put some anti-seize on the side of the shock absorber before I put it back in. All moving parts, should keep them greasy. I'll put at least some sort of grease on them. Also put some grease on the bolt that we're about to put back in. I think it's going to be a bit easier if I take this mud flap out before I try and install the shock. It's a bit tight in here. Just need a Phillips head screwdriver. Should come apart. Okay, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get that shock back in if you've got your rear wheel propped up, because you can actually feed the shock in through the bottom like that. As you can see, the shock's back inside. It's not done up yet, it's not bolted. It's just sitting in there at the moment. As you can see, I've greased all this pretty well. I took them all out and put them back in with all grease, all the rest. It's time to try and connect it all. It's a bit hard doing it one-handed. Bear with me. So as you can see, I've got that one in with the washer, but this one's not going in easy. You gotta jiggle the back swing arm as you pull the bolt through. Try to line it up. So that's the top of the shock. You have to wiggle the swing arm to push that bolt back so you can actually get that nut on inside here. Try and enter. Try to do all your entering through here. It's a bit easier. It's hard to do it with a camera in my hand. But if you go through here, yeah, you can get there. You can slowly turn the bolt, start threading it on, and you're gonna enter the same way with your spanner. Same way, you're just gonna turn it that bit so you can get the spanner just on there. I'll turn your spanner around so you can get it on there. No good. There you go, spanner's on there. Entered through there.
All right, now just tightening it all back up. You can get the ring on it on the 17 and turn it. Right, you can get the open end on that one, 17. And turn it. Yeah, you won't get much turnout when it's tight. Yes. Yes, I am gonna put a torque wrench on there. Yes, I am. So all that grease, all the excess grease can come off. Just wipe it off with a rag. I'm not too worried about it. Yeah. Come off with a rag. Anyways. Yep. Yes, I know what you're thinking. I could have cleaned this up a bit better before I did this, but I didn't. Alright, the manual says 44 Newton meters. It's got to be torqued to. That noise is when you know it's done. Alright, you might struggle with this back one here. I think it's easier to get with the stand down. There you go. In between the chain. Just gotta put the little fender thing back on now. Line all the holes up. Line it up. Put it on. Good flat. Just gonna put the seat back on. They sometimes come out. Just gonna whack that mud guard back on. So that's a spring in there. Dandelion yellow. I don't really like the color, but it's too late now, isn't it? Here's the bike. Another angle of the spring. There it is. The bike definitely leans over a lot more now. The bike is definitely higher. Definitely higher. I'm on my tippy toes. Suspension's a lot harder now. A lot harder.